Mercury, the liquid metal, is named for the planet Mercury, which is named for the Roman god Mercury. The ancient Babylonian equivalent god is Nepu. The ancient Greeks had two names, Apollo and Hermes, to represent the morning and evening appearance of the planet Mercury. They claim the planet Mercury orbits the sun every 88 days, so Mercury is connected to the number 88 in their numerology. In the book Arbatel, The Magic of the Ancients, written in 1575, they claim that Ophiel is an Olympic spirit who rules over the planet Mercury in 14 provinces, and that began in 1900 and will continue for 490 years. Mercury, the liquid metal, is also known as quicksilver, and it's very important to the rulers of the realms. Elon's SpaceX crew patch for the Dragon rocket has the symbol for Mercury on it. A friend has been talking to me about Mercury for a while now, and I've been compiling information for this video. Mercury is used in various cultural and magical rituals intended to interact with spirits. This practice is rooted in ancient traditions in Asia, Egypt, Europe, and the Americas. Mercury is used in those rituals for its supposed magical properties and to promote longevity and even immortality. Mercury is still used in rituals to create a vessel with a spirit, for example, in Santeria. Mercury sulfide is the most commonly found source of mercury ore. Mesoamericans were intimately familiar with it, both as a red pigment and for its mercury content. It symbolized blood, life, regeneration, and the afterlife. Reflective materials held a great deal of religious significance in Mesoamerican cultures, in which mirrors were seen as conduits to the supernatural. They knew how to extract mercury from crushed cinnabar, but it was very difficult and dangerous to produce. Mercury is extracted from cinnabar, which is mercury sulfide. My friend thinks that cinnabar is crystallized dragon's blood, which could explain why Elon's dragon rocket patch has the symbol for Mercury on it, and why the Mayan cultures believed it symbolized blood. Cinnabar was used as a red pigment in cosmetics and wall paintings by Egyptians, Romans, and in early American cultures. It was also vital in mining to extract gold. Mercury was used in fire gilding to create thin layers of gold or silver on jewelry, statues, and amulets. Cinnabar was also used in elite burials, specifically the Mayan elites, because they considered it a sacred substance which gave them soul force. The most famous Mayan figure discovered buried in a thick layer of cinnabar is the Red Queen of Palenque, wife of the Mayan king Pakal the Great. Her skeleton, along with the interior of her limestone sarcophagus and her jade funeral mask, were entirely covered in cinnabar, and so were several other Mayan rulers, including King Pakal. I've covered him before. Pakal the Great was a Mayan king around 600 AD for 68 years, the second longest reign of any monarch in the history of the Americas. His head displayed pronounced artificial cranial elongation. Severe head wrapping and splinting caused his face to grow forward and outward and result in outthrusting facial features. His teeth were also filed. After his death, Pakal was deified as a patron god. Pakal was responsible for the construction of monumental architecture and inscriptions. I think this is the temple where his tomb was found. His large carved stone sarcophagus lid is a unique piece of classic Mayan art. The lid contains cosmological signs, including those for the sun, moon, and stars, as well as the heads of 6 named noblemen of varying ranks. The central image is that of a cruciform world tree, which is used in paganism all over the place. Beneath Pakal is one of the heads of a celestial 2-headed serpent, signaling his residence in the realm of the dead. The Hoover Dam Monument, which has the fallen angels also has a star map or astrological chart, and it's over here on this. So these are the fallen angels, and this is that star map. And this star map or astrological chart corresponds to the birth reincarnation of Lord Pakal Ahau, which the artist of this star map thought would be a reincarnation of King Pakal, the Mayan king. The star map was influenced by Mayan calendar as a type of 10,000-year-old clock, and this monument and the star map was created by Oscar J.W. Hansen, who was a major in the U.S. Army, but in collaboration with the Smithsonian Institution, which is a British Freemasonic institution, and the U.S. Naval Observatory. And it was dedicated under Franklin Roosevelt in 1935. Large quantities of liquid mercury were discovered in 2015, sealed with an 1,800-year-old underground chambers beneath the Temple of the Feathered Serpent in Teotihuacan, Mexico. Researchers believed it was used symbolically to represent underworld rivers and lakes. A river of mercury would make one hugely expensive and ritually important conveyance to the underworld. The mercury was found deep under the third largest pyramid at the end of a 300-foot tunnel near royal burial tombs. It's also speculated that the site was likely used for ritual sacrifice. The mercury represented a mirror simulating a ritual, a symbolic or cosmological representation of the underworld. The tunnel walls were dusted with powdered pyrite to look like stars. There was also a mercury lakes reported created for the mausoleum of the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, who was emperor around 200 BC. Chinese historian Sima Qian wrote about that mausoleum a century after that emperor's death. He wrote, "They dug down deep to underground springs, palaces and viewing towers housing 100 officials were built and filled with treasures and rare artifacts. Workmen were instructed to make automatic crossbows primed to shoot at intruders. Mercury was used to simulate the 100 rivers, the Yangtze and the Yellow River and the Great Sea, and set to flow mechanically. Above the heaven is depicted below the geographical features of the land." That's what he wrote. So the emperor's burial mound has not been excavated, but high levels of mercury have been found in the soil. Because of these findings at the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, it's likely the ones reported by that historian Sima Qian about the tomb of the Chinese emperor are credible, especially since the description regarding the cosmological representation is almost identical. In 215 BC, it's reported that a Chinese general ordered that mausoleum's construction with the assistance of 300,000 to 700,000 unpaid laborers. To maintain the secrets of the tomb and the artifacts within, most of the workmen who built the tomb were also killed. In some accounts, they were contained inside that tomb, so buried alive. A terracotta army of 6,000 statues whose purpose was to protect this emperor in the afterlife from evil spirits were discovered by a group of farmers in 1974. Also among the army are chariots and 40,000 real bronze weapons. So those are the mechanical crossbows talked about by the historian. This emperor claimed descent from the legendary 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors. According to Chinese mythology and traditional Chinese history, the 3 sovereigns and the 5 emperors were a series of pre-flood Chinese emperors who were also sages. They were widely worshipped as divine ancestral spirits from the Golden Age, a time when communications with humans and the divine were central to all life. They were demigods who used their abilities to help create mankind and impart to them essential skills and knowledge. The 5 emperors were from that Golden Age, so doesn't that all sound familiar, like the Anunnaki, the fallen? Today, these 5 emperors are still considered cultural heroes. One of them who Qin Shi Huang took his name from was the Yellow Emperor, who reigned around 2700 BC, so that's pre-flood. The Yellow Emperor is credited with the Chinese calendar, Taoism, wooden houses, boats, carts, the compass, needle, and the earliest forms of writing. And this Yellow Emperor reminded me of The King in Yellow, which is a book written by Scottish author Robert Chambers. And that book's about a play also titled The King in Yellow. And the King in Yellow is a malevolent, supernatural Gothic entity who ruled a land called Carcosa, which was a haunting, otherworldly realm of madness. The King in Yellow is central to H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos. It's associated with the deity Hester and black stars. In Robert Chambers' story, people who read the play The King in Yellow are driven insane. So this emperor, this first Chinese emperor, Qin Shi Huang, himself must also have been insane. For one, he drank liquid mercury, which he believed was the elixir of life, which supposedly confers immortality. In his obsessive quest, he fell prey to many fraudulent elixirs, and when they didn't work, he ordered the alchemists to be buried alive. The emperor built a system of tunnels and passageways to each of his over 200 palaces, because traveling unseen would supposedly keep him safe from evil spirits. He sent ships carrying hundreds of young men and women in search of the mystical Mount Pinglai, seeking a 1,000-year-old magician. So does that sound like this emperor was demon-possessed? It does to me. They say mercury poisoning is known to drive people mad, causing confusion and hallucinations. So is mercury poisonous, or does it attract the demonic spirits, or both? I assume demons would want people to believe or behave like madmen, similar to this emperor. So maybe they encourage mercury mining to do just that. In ancient times, the Greeks and Romans, both beast empires, also used mercury to supposedly treat ailments. But if it's poison, then that does not make sense, unless they were deceived. Mercury, salt, and sulfur are the three fundamental principles in alchemy. Mercury represents spirit, salt is body, sulfur is soul. Mercury is one of the reasons it's believed that mirrors attract spirits. I'm going to play this clip here. And this is a gold mirror, but this is still a mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall. This is from Snow White and the Huntsman movie. Looks like she's a flame... Sorry. Looks like she's a flame keeper.
Mirror, mirror, on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all?
It is you, my queen. Yet another kingdom falls to your glory. Is there no end to your power and beauty?
All right. So the earliest Manufactured mirrors were crafted from polished obsidian, which is volcanic glass, also known as dragon glass. Obsidian is also known to attract spirits, but from the 1500s to the mid-1800s, mirrors were made using mercury poured over glass, and this method was popularized by Venetian glassmakers. I believe that's why many of the royals have halls of mirrors in their palaces, like Versailles, built by King Louis XIV, the Sun King, otherwise known as Apollo. This looks a lot like Trump's apartment. Trump, who is also talking about the Golden Age. Many horror movies feature deadly mirrors, and there's also the Black Mirror TV series. Mercury was used in the manufacturing of felt hats during the 1700s and 1800s, causing a high rate of mercury poisoning among those working in the hat industry. They say mercury poisoning causes neurological damage, including slurred speech, memory loss, and tremors, which led to the phrase "mad as a hatter." Many such workers were sent to lunatic asylums. Lewis Carroll's uncle worked as a supervisor in one of the asylums, and Lewis Carroll visited him there. The asylums staged theaters, plays, dances, and tea parties. This led to Lewis Carroll's creation of the fictional Mad Hatter in his book Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, which is a mirror. A mercury arc rectifier is an electrical device that converts AC to DC using a pool of liquid mercury as a cathode. It was widely used until the early 20th century for high-powered applications such as powering electric railways, industrial motors, supporting radio transmitters, and in movie theaters to power the high-intensity lamps needed for projection. Lighthouses used to have mercury, and lighthouses are one of the structures that symbolize the axis mundi, or gate between this realm and the spirit realm, like a portal. And one factor contributing to that representation could be the mercury contained in the lighthouse. Until the invention of the light bulb, the lighthouse lights usually came from a flame. So in a way, I guess you could say a lighthouse keeper was a keeper of the flame as well. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the lens was usually set on wheels or bearings and attached to clockworks, which the keeper would periodically wind. It was up to that lighthouse keeper to ensure the massive lens kept spinning all day, every day. Then, in the 1890s, lighthouse keepers began floating their 2.5-ton lens in liquid mercury, which acted as a frictionless bearing that required minimal effort to turn and faster rotation. So lighthouses are often featured in occult movies like Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse, where two New England lighthouse keepers go mad or get demonically possessed by a spirit. In fact, there are many historical accounts of lighthouse keepers going mad, and I wonder if that's because they were possessed by a spirit or because of the mercury, or both. And then there was the movie The Fog, where the radio station was a lighthouse, which attracted a ghost ship. The Fog tells the story of a strange fog that sweeps in over an island off the northern coast of Oregon, bringing with it the vengeful spirits of mariners, led by the character William Blake, who was murdered there in 1871 and dragged into the sea by a sea spirit. One of the X-Men is Quicksilver, which is another name for Mercury. I'm going to play a scene from the movie Days of Future Past, which featured the X-Man Quicksilver.
Hold it right there!
Charles?
Don't move! Hands up, or we will shoot!
Freeze him, Charles.
I can't.
Hands up!
If I could save time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you. If I could make days last forever, if words could make wishes come true, I'd save every day like a treasure, and then again I would spend them with you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them. I looked around enough to know that you're the one I want to go through time with.
Nice kid.
All right. And I think one of the characters in Terminator 2 was made of mercury. Mercury did rise as a line from the Pearl Jam song Quick Escape about astral travel, which is too much like the Travis Scott song and video Escape Plan, released just hours before the fatal Astro World concert, with all the demonic activity and trampling deaths. And then there's Freddie Mercury, the British pop rock star. And Mercury is a given fake name for him. His real name is Farrokh Bulsara, and his religion is Zoroastrianism. Thanks for listening.